All right, everyone. So we have some new rumors regarding Shane McMahon and AEW. We're going to read this tweet from Russell Puris. According to Hey Hey It's Conrad, Shane McMahon has reached out to AEW talent to discuss the idea of joining the company. There was a friend of ours. He went out of his way to text me, "Hey, that's not as crazy as you think. I know for sure that Shane McMahon has reached out to wrestlers on the AEW roster to at least hypothetically discuss the idea." So according to Conrad Thompson, and he does the podcast with JR. He does a podcast with Eric Bischoff. He's saying that there is, Shane McMahon's basically reaching out to AEW wrestlers. He's interested in going to AEW and all of that. So I've been thinking about this, and I reserve the right to change my mind on this. But I do think, if you go back and you look at WCW, not saying AEW is necessarily trying to be WCW, but if you go back and you could kind of pinpoint what was it that was the biggest mistake of WCW, you'd probably point to they were unable to create their own stars in a way. You had Goldberg, okay, we get that, but they really were relying on people who were just viewed as WWE talent at the time, right? Like Hulk Hogan, Kevin Nash, Scott Hall. Those are the three biggest, right? And then you bring over Bret Hart, and you can just go down the list. They had a lot of WWE talent, and that WWE talent, in a way, was pushing down some of the other up and coming guys on WCW, and it was to the point where by the end of the Attitude Era, some of those guys that were in the mid card spots ended up leaving and going to WWE, right? Because they were kind of getting pushed down by the top of the talent. Now, I bring this up in this situation because it's not that AEW can never take anybody from WWE or have any big names that are associated with WWE, or that even Shane McMahon is, obviously he's not a wrestler like in the vein of Hulk Hogan, right? I mean, he was the boss's son who would do some crazy shit out there. He was a big part of many storylines, but he's not, Hulk Hogan or Kevin Nash or Scott Hall. But I just think when you're talking about bringing these people in, AEW, if it's going to succeed or fail, has to succeed or fail on its own talent. It can't be completely reliant on outside big names coming in. And I know they've drawn in big names, like Edge, and they've had CM Punk, and I understand all that. But it just seems to me like this kind of stuff is stuff that is not lasting success. And sometimes when you bring in somebody like Shane McMahon, it's certainly going to drive ratings. But you got to be able to drive those ratings to success somehow for an extended period of time. What has made WWE what WWE is that the success it's had, it's continued, right? It's built upon, it's reached a new height. And so if you do bring in Shane and you're able to get kind of this, huge look, everybody's going to be tuning in to see what Shane McMahon is doing and what he has to say. It's crazy. I mean, there are so many storylines bouncing off this, whether it's the fact that, his dad is now out at WWE, or the fact that his sister's husband is kind of running WWE in terms of the creative side. All of those things. There's so many little storylines that are, in this. So I get that completely. But AEW has to be able to take whatever that is and turn it into something. Like, as much criticism as WCW gets, the success they got from the jump of all these, WWE guys coming over, they were able to succeed for a decent amount of time, right? They were able to be beating WWE for a decent amount of time, but that ended up not lasting because it was built way too much on the back of that. So I guess the only downside to all of this is that AEW has to build its own product, and it seems like we don't watch it a ton, but it seems like they have loyal fans. It seems like people do like it more than WWE among that hardcore group of fans, and so you got to give more to them. You can't just have these flash in the pan type deals where it's a big to do for a little bit and then it kind of does nothing. So that's my only skepticism with this. What is the long term plan with Shane McMahon coming. How are you going to make that work? Is it literally just going to be to spite, you know, is it literally just going to be to kind of just spite the wrestling industry? I just don't know what it would look like, and I would be interested to see. So thank you all for watching, and we will see you next.